Hello, everybody. My name is John, and this will be part one in a series that I will be making called Hypocrisy in the Making. It will be hopefully a weekly, kind of sort of podcast where it's just where I come to rant and talk about certain things that I find interesting, or just want to rant about, like I said previously. So today we're going to be talking about WoW and where I think WoW is going, why I think WoW is going down the certain roads that it is, and just WoW in general. Now, one major factor that you have to put into this when talking to me about WoW is that I've played WoW since 2005, 2006, around there. Not early vanilla, probably mid to late vanilla. I can still remember level 60 cap. Raids were just 40 men just running directly in the Orgrimmar and trying to accomplish whatever you would accomplish. And that's how long I've played WoW. I played Burning Crusade, I played a Lich King, and kind of funny actually, people are gonna hate me for this, but I actually mained a Death Knight, which is the worst thing, which was the absolute worst thing to make, because it was cheap. It was cheap. You know, there's no way getting around that. It was easy to play, it was cheap, and it was broken. I mean, that's it. That's it in the simplest. But no, so I played Lich King. I played Cataclysm. Disgusting. I played Pin. I played Mop. I played whatever's out now. You know, the really bad. Oh yeah, Warlords of Draenor, the one that nobody likes for good reasons. Cough, about 10 hours of gameplay. So recently, we're coming close to the release date of Legion, which I am not looking forward to be quite honest. But no, so every day we get closer to Legion, and it's on there on the horizon, and it's just staring at us, dude. It's just so close, and it's gonna be so horrible. They're gonna if they continue on the track that started with Cataclysm, it's just it's just gonna be bad. The only thing that I have been looking forward to is the easier leveling that will come with the expansion, and that's about it. I'm not looking forward to the new class. I mean, I don't get hero classes. I honestly don't. I feel like if you want to play something, you should play it from level 1. You shouldn't get it at level 55 and or cough, you know, fucking just why, Blizzard? Why would you do that to me? Why would you make me main a Death Knight? Just I have such a resentment for Blizzard just for the fact that I rolled a Death Knight. But no, so anyway, I don't get it. I feel like if you're gonna play something, you should play it from level 1 up until level 110 or whatever the level cap is now. I don't feel like you should start out at level 98 or whatever it is this time, because you're missing out on the experience that is leveling. And mainly people played Death Knight because they didn't want to level up another character. They wanted to basically hop right into the game, be mid game, and just no farming, Tristful Glades, no Mulgore, etc. So it was really a win-win situation for the people who have been playing for a long time and don't want to have to do that painstaking process, which is understandable. But still, my argument stands. And by the way, I also rolled Hunter. I'm horrible. I apologize. I'm a bad person. I feel bad for being a bad person. I deserve to be punished for rolling a Death Knight, a Frost Death Knight to be exact, and that my dual spec was Blood, so I was that guy. So I rolled, dual spec, Death Knight, and I rolled Beast Hunter or whatever it is, Beastmaster Hunter. So I was kind of the guy that you hated, just anywhere, just anywhere, and wow, I was just horrible. But I had a lot of fun. And my fun really died off when it came to the ending of Pandaria. I think Pandaria tried to redeem what Cataclysm had done, and I absolutely despise Cataclysm, mainly because if you honestly think about it, before Cataclysm, you had this long, I guess you could say, just stretch of land for the Barons, right? You had the Barons. There's level 10 to 20 or something like that, 10 to 15, I think. And then they split it in half. And the only way to get across was either to walk to another zone, to walk up and then into the Barrens, or just take a flight, I think. I'm not sure, actually. I haven't played it in a while. I do still play private servers, but I play Wrath of the Lich King private servers because just anything else past Cataclysm is just cancerous for me. Same thing with Thousand Needles. It used to be an extremely iffy zone to play through, and with Cataclysm, it was extremely boring because at that time you couldn't fly and you were literally just walking underwater for 10 minutes to get to the other side of the map to get on a cruise ship with just I don't get it. I don't get it. But besides my rant about why I hate WoW, I want to take you through an adventure of why I think WoW has gotten to the point where it needs to keep on rushing out these horrible expansion packs, expansion pack after expansion pack after expansion pack. And it's mainly because every time they really so when they released WoW, it was a huge achievement for just gaming in general. They peaked at around 12 million players, and so they were making amazing money for the time. And every time they made an expansion, I think they gained around 5 million. I'm not sure. I think it was like 3 million until Cataclysm. So every year they kept on gaining and gaining and gaining with minimal losses. So until Cataclysm. Cataclysm came around, people subscribed. Now, I don't know if I still have the screenshot or I still have the picture saved, but as soon as Cataclysm came out, everybody wanted to see what happened. Absolutely. You couldn't get to the Flight Master because, the Flight Masters were crowded because they just wanted to fly around and see what had happened. And that's when they started seeing losses. People no longer wanted to level up in the Barrens. People who did Horde no longer wanted to level up because it was just such a horrible experience. It felt like they wanted to do something, but they just didn't pull it off. If they could have changed Azeroth in a good way, it would have been amazing. Honestly, think about it. Who doesn't want to change Azeroth at least in the littlest? Because vanilla WoW was fun, but when Burning Crusade came out, everybody realized what comes from, expansion and change in, the Warcraft scene. So everybody was looking forward to the changes in terms of new areas, new raids, new dungeons. They weren't looking forward to thousand Needles being completely underwater, or the Barrens being split in half, or the dwarf leveling area being completely 180'd. It's just, that's not what they were looking forward to. They were excited to see the whole new dragon theme stuff. I can still remember doing the quest line level 80s with Alexstrasza, I think her name was, and you just had to do all these things about Deathwing. That was amazing. Everybody liked that. Nobody liked the area changes, right? If Cataclysm kept the areas that they were doing, but just changed it in a minimum way, let's say instead of ripping the Barrens in half, making one, I don't understand it. I just why? But moving on, from my flashbacks, but if they changed it in a minimum way, let's say instead of ripping the Barrens in half, you found new enemies in certain areas of the Barrens, right? That would have been acceptable. I feel like that would have been okay. Don't completely change the area, just add a few quest lines in the northeastern barrens, or which was I think probably the most boring. And I mean, the only thing that actually did come out of Cataclysm that I thought was actually pretty cool was the whole Warzone area. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. It was like Northern Barrens, I'm pretty sure, and it was real PvP, and it was how there was like trenches, and there were Alliance soldiers and Horde soldiers, and one of the quests for the Alliance was stop these goblins from like basically suicide bombing their base, which I thought was hilarious. So if they just did something like that around the Barrens, not in the center of the Barrens, not making an absolute change to the Barrens, not taking away of what Barrens staple was, keeping the just adding something, right? And that's what I always loved about WoW. They always added something but didn't change everything, right? Especially when it came to those Warzone areas, like the marshlands, I forget what it's called, but where there was the dock and everything. Oh, dude, I don't even remember. But there was that one area, and I think everybody knows this. It was kind of Alliance soldiers fighting Horde soldiers. You're around level 50, 55. So Alliance soldiers fighting Horde soldiers, and in the middle of the battle, there were Horde captains, Orc captains, whatever they were, on their mounts, just yelling morale speeches, etc. And that was amazing because it was like, whoa, dude, it feels like an actual battle. You can actually see the conflict. It's not like you're just running around doing quests to save the world and you don't actually see the impact, which is actually a pretty cool fact that I have to say they did add in Cataclysm. It was with the whole Earth tree, and how if people showed up and did more dailies, the fire area or the scorching of the area around the Earth tree actually got smaller, and if they didn't do it, the fire actually got bigger and more areas were engulfed. I thought that was pretty cool, and I feel like if they just kept on doing things like that, if they kept on changing some things but not changing everything, not changing the big picture of what areas were, not changing, just making quests that were interesting, making dailies that weren't repetitive, and just, like I said, changing the small things, changing areas, let's say northeastern Barrens, southwestern Barrens, etc., but not changing the whole scheme. That would have been amazing. I feel like with like Westerrealm or Westfalen, whatever it was, right? If they honestly ruined it, because yes, it used to be boring, but it wasn't boring as you could see the strain of it trying to be interesting. Because when I can't remember zones, man. So when the human 10 to 15 leveling area, right, farmland kind of thing, right, you could see it after Cataclysm just straining to be cool. It just wanted to be loved, and nobody wanted to love it because it was just absolutely horrendous. And that's what really, I think, led to the huge loss in subscribers, because subscribers would log in and they would be like, okay, I have a level 25 to 30 orc, right? Not 25. Let's say 10 to 15 orc, right? I'm going to log in, I'm going to go to the Barrens, I'm going to do these horribly repetitive quests, right, in the new area that I'm not familiar with, right, for another 20 minutes, right, to get to the other side of the Barrens, right, to do more repetitive quests, to do new quest lines that nobody cares about, and just repeat until level 30, right? And that's what it really came down to. And that's what I found stopped me from enjoying the game as a whole. I would log in, 10 to 15 orc, or whatever, and I would be like, do I really want to level? Do I really want to put myself in the painstaking, I guess you could say, process of leveling? Because the only thing that WoW had going for it at that point were the raids, the dungeons, and the community. And that's what's going to keep WoW alive, is the community. And even that is slowly shrinking. And I feel like when WoW dies out, We're going to have a huge explosion in the number of MMORPGs that are being produced, but I also feel like we're going to lose a lot of the MMORPG market because WoW crashes, okay? Let's just say WoW crashes harder than it is right now. They release Legion and it tanks, dude, right? Everybody leaves, everybody unsubscribes from WoW, everybody pieces out, essentially. You're gonna see people like games like Terra, games like WildStar, games like what's the one game where it's all Neverwinter. You're gonna see free-to-play MMORPGs spike up, and then you're gonna see them crash down. And when they crash down, you're gonna see games like Final Fantasy, the open world one. Yeah, that's the title. When I walk in the GameStop, and they asked, "Oh, what game do you want?" I say, "Yeah, I'm looking to get a Final Fantasy, the open world one, deluxe edition." All right. But no, so you're gonna see games like those with the subscription spike, dude. They're just gonna go off the charts, and once they tank, that's when you're gonna see AAA games spike. You're gonna see games like Tamriel Unlimited spike, because there'll be such a flood, and I feel like this is what's also contributed to the falling of WoW, is that there's so many people with so many different viewpoints playing one game. It gets to the point where the experience isn't special, especially when it comes to free-to-play MMORPGs. Like the Lord of the Rings, that community was great. That community was awesome. I remember playing that game, and the community was just there, right? And that's what made the game. But eventually, the community got to a point where there was different viewpoints on everything. The community couldn't agree on one thing, the community got smaller, more divided, etc., etc., and now this is why you don't hear about Lords of the Ring online, right? And that's what's going to happen to WoW eventually if they somehow make a comeback. And I feel like that one of the main places that you can see the WoW fall in the WoW falling in terms of that is when is on legacy servers. A lot of community supports legacy servers. A lot of community don't. Specifically, the people that joined after Cataclysm. Because they're used to having everything handed to them. They're used to having dungeon queues. They're used to having raiding queues. They're used to this stuff, right? But the people before Cataclysm, the people in Wrath of the Lich King, the people in Burning, right? They can remember doing open world PvP and having it be so much, just I guess you could say, funner, right? The experience is more immersive, right? You had to actually work for what you got. It was harder, right? But, it was more rewarding in the end. And, I absolutely hate that in life advice and when it comes to games, too. Because in life advice, everybody says you have to work hard to get something accomplished, and you have to have a passion in your heart, and you have to be a go-getter, and every day you have to work. And my question for those people is, when have you ever just worked, day after day after day after day after day? Everybody says work hard. Nobody wants to work hard. Everybody that gets anywhere today cheats. Everybody that gets anywhere today just doesn't play fair. If that makes sense. Nobody genuinely works hard. They like to say that they work hard. They like to say that they go at it, when in reality, they struck a gold mine on accident. Right? Mark Zuckerberg, he made a website, right? That's hard work. You got your website up, right? I don't think he worked every single day. He was a college student at that point, I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't have sources. But he got lucky because it blew up. It became this little college thing that went to this huge business, right? And he wasn't one guy working hard every day. He was one guy with a franchise with 7,000 people underneath him, right? But anyway, back to WoW. Yeah, you could really see when it came to legacy servers, right? The game was a lot harder to get things done, but at the same time, it was easier, if that makes sense. it was harder to try and solo things, which any class can do at this point in newer WoW. It was harder to do things on your own. But when you got into a guild, right, and that's when everything became easier. That's when you really saw the community flourish, right? And that's what everybody wants. Everybody wants to be in a community in the end point, and in some respective way, right? Don't get me wrong. There's people who are antisocial. I'm quite antisocial, right? But you always want to be, I guess you could say, a part of a group to some extent, right? Especially in video games, right? Take Skyrim for an example, or Bethesda games in general. You always end up aligning yourself with one faction, right? Whether you think it's just best for the stats, just whatever, but you always feel like you want to be a part of that, right? And I mean, of course, some people can't, but I think for the most part, everybody wants to. And I hate grouping. I hate to group people, but that's how I feel. And I can completely see where people are coming from when they say they don't feel like they want to be a part of a group, or they don't like groups, etc. Right? I can get behind that. I don't like groups. I don't like being in groups. But when it comes to WoW, when it comes to MMORPGs, when it comes to community in general on the internet, everybody, it's just an amazing experience, especially with old WoW. Because in old WoW, you could see the community. Everybody was willing to help you, right? Everybody. You wouldn't join a clan. There might be the guy who was rude and didn't want to help anybody, but for the most part, most clans, especially the older clans, right, would always love to help you. They would always say, you could go into guild chat and you could say, hey guys, I need help running Deep Home, right? And somebody would run you through Deep Home. Somebody would help you with Deep Home. They would get 5 people together to help you through Deep Home, and that is slowly disappearing in WoW, and I can see that every time I resubscribe for the month, because every time I hope that they'll do something better than I hope that the community will somehow rebuild itself, and it's never gotten to the point where it was, and that's understandable because nothing stays the same forever, especially when it comes to video games. But in terms of WoW failing, in terms of WoW just having to shove out these expansion packs, it's mainly because that they see their community is dwindling. They see that people are getting disinterested, and don't get me wrong, there's still a huge amount of people who play the game religiously, right? And when it comes to private servers, I am one of those, right? I love playing private servers. I love having the whole community aspect back, right? But they see that their community is getting smaller every expansion. They see that people are becoming increasingly more disinterested, and every time they make out a new subscriber or make out a new expansion, you can always see the subscriber count spike for about 3 months, right? Everybody gets to taste new content, everybody dips back down, unlike in old WoW where they made Burning Crusade, and everybody thought it was like, oh my god, they're never going to do this again, oh my god, or, some people did, or of course there was the whole, this is amazing, new experience, and everybody ended up staying around because it was more of a lasting experience than it did feel like a DLC, and that's what kept WoW alive. And now it's become, hey guys, look at this 10-20 hour expansion pack that you're going to play for about 3 weeks and then just quit again, right? And that's what's going to kill WoW. I feel like if WoW wants to get anywhere like it used to, they need to take a step back and realize and see what they did with Wrath of the Lich King. And I hate using Wrath of the Lich King because everybody loves Wrath of the Lich King and everybody can get behind it. But they need to look and they need to realize that there was a point, okay, between Burning Crusade and Vanilla WoW, there was about 3-4 years, okay? Between Crusade and Lich King, there was about 3 years, okay? And this is where you start seeing the issue. Between Lich King and Crusade, 2 years, okay? Or not Crusade, between Cataclysm, 2 years. Between Cataclysm and Draenei, or not Draenei, Pandaria. It was about 2 years, 2.5 years, 3 years maybe, right? But that was more. They actually saw they spiked up. It went down, but it it went down to a point where it was more before it spiked up, right? And then they released Draenei probably a year and 10 months, right? And they see the spike up, and then they see the spike down, and this time it was lower before the spike, lower than before the spike. And why that was is because, first of all, I think Draenei was their first attempt at an actual DLC expansion, where it's like, hey guys, take a look at this. We're gonna market it like it's an actual expansion pack, but it's actually 10 hours worth of just content that you're gonna play for 3 days and then give up because it's so boringly horrendous, right? And that's honestly what happened, right? Nobody played Draenei for more than 40 hours. You always saw people sit there and do old raids. You always saw people talk to the community, right? And don't get me wrong, I don't think WoW is dying. I feel like WoW is falling, but I don't feel like WoW is dying. I feel like because they currently have, 4 million subscribers, 5 million subscribers, I feel like it'll dip down to 3 million. And same thing with RuneScape. I feel like RuneScape and WoW are going to be one and the same. They're going to be immortal. And what I mean by that is, with RuneScape, you see how RuneScape came out in 2001, 2002, right? And it was huge then, absolutely huge, right? And it's dwindled. Oh yeah, Jagex, it's gotten smaller, right? But it's never died out. The community was always there to some extent. People were always playing it. People are still playing it. People are still streaming it. I watch people's streams. There's a huge community there still, right? And I feel like that's what's gonna happen to WoW. They're gonna dip down. I feel like they're gonna stay at around 2.5 to 3 million, right? Spike up to about 5 every expansion or so, right? And that's when you're gonna see the best of the community again. You're gonna see the old diehard players, right? Still sticking it out, and it's basically like a self-purging mechanic almost. They were huge for a while, and it's gonna go down to the numbers like it was in vanilla WoW, right? And I feel like that's what's honestly gonna happen. I don't feel like WoW will ever completely die out. I feel like WoW will get smaller. WoW will not be as relevant as it is today, but Blizzard and WoW will never die out. Like with the increase with their new game Overwatch, which everybody is addicted to. Everybody loves Overwatch, right? With all that money being poured into Overwatch, I can only hope that they're going to use at least some of that to fund games that are less known, or not lesser known, but games that they have that are lesser played. I would love to see them put at least 2% of the budget or revenue that they get from Overwatch just into making Diablo something again, because Diablo is nothing. Diablo, it was just so horrible. Diablo is one of the only games that I think actually came extremely close to dying out. Not Diablo 1, Diablo 3. And it's just, Diablo was their only game that I feel like people actually just got bored of, and people actually just didn't want to play because of how they made it. And I feel like if Diablo wanted to thrive, I feel like instead of doing basic re-releases, doing Diablo 1, Diablo 2, Diablo 3, they should have done what they're doing with WoW. Kept the whole Diablo thing, instead of, making revenue or re-releasing things whenever. They should have at least just kept building on to the first Diablo, like they have done for WoW. And I mean, Diablo is a much older series than WoW, but I feel like that's what they should have taken the approach to with that. But that's my opinion to end this whole thing up, this 29-minute rant. That has been my opinion on WoW, where I think WoW is going, where I think WoW has been, and just the many rants throughout about how Barons is my opinion, etc. I would like to thank everybody for watching this video. If you've watched it fully, you're the real MVP. If this does not have any gameplay behind it, I will try and get gameplay un- uh, over it some other time. I don't think it'll be WoW. It'll probably be playing League, probably me doing something, right? But it might as well, it might be WoW, right? It might be me playing with Brian, who I want to actually have on Hypocrisy in the making. I feel like we're going to do a crime episode with him pretty soon, I hope, and I feel like that'll be super interesting. But no, that has been my opinion on WoW, where I think it's been, where it is going, and just WoW in general. I would like to thank everybody for watching, and have a wonderful day.